What's up guys, Alexander here with Date Psychology. Gonna do a fast video. Let's look at this Pew data that we've seen. Some charts. Let's just go ahead and go into it. It's gonna be quick. You have seen this chart before, right? That shows 63% of men between 18 and 29 are single, but only 34% of women in that age group are single. What is going on? A lot of people have talked about this, right? This question in the Pew survey asked, are they in committed relationships? So you would think people might be aware if they're in a committed relationship or not, but maybe not. How can we explain this? A popular explanation in the manosphere, right, is these Chad harems, right? The idea that these women think they're in a committed relationship, but they're not. They're being strung along, right? Let's go forward to the next slide. Before we go on, I want you guys to think about this. What is a Chad harem? What does it look like? I've asked people before, asked a bunch of people on social media and got different responses, open-ended responses, just to get an idea of what they said. And typically most people say it's a form of soft polygamy, right? It's obviously not people living together in an actual harem, that sort of a thing. So is it spinning plates, as the red pill would like to say? Yeah, that seems to be what people seem to think that it is, right? Multiple women on rotation with one guy for casual sex. They think they're in a committed relationship with him, but they're not. That's probably what you imagine. Is a Chad harem one guy living with a bunch of women? Probably not, right? Is it one guy that's married to a bunch of women? Again, outside of Utah, probably not. So, keeping that in mind, let's look at what's going on here. Pew releases these data sets. Okay, I have a friend on Twitter, Nuance Enjoyer. Make sure to follow him. He does really good articles and everything, and he made this chart here, and I just took it off Twitter to make this video real quick. So, they released this data set. Then you can break it down. These singles by group. You have singles that are cohabiting, married, and not cohabiting. And what do we see? Only 8% of this gap is single women who are not cohabiting. 21% are women who are cohabiting or who are married. So remember, this image of this Chad harem, right? It's probably not women living together with a man, that sort of a thing, married. These women that report not being single, most of them are actually living with their partner, right? They're not just out there like, yeah, I'm with some guy, we're in a relationship, and he's like, no, we're not. Probably not the case if they're married. Probably not the case if they're living with that guy. So I think this is pretty important. Looking at the data by category here, and you can see, okay, something else is going on with that. Let's go forward. As I mentioned, the Pew survey asked about committed relationships, right? And so a popular explanation as well was kind of that women misunderstood what this meant. And again, related to this Chad harem thing, right? That the woman says, yeah, I'm totally in a committed relationship with him. And the guy says, no, I'm not. But if it turns out that most of these women are living with their romantic partners, they're probably not misunderstanding it, right? It's, you're like, yeah, I live with the guy, we're in a relationship. Seems pretty clear, and I think that was an implausible explanation to begin with. This idea that people don't know if they're in a committed relationship if you ask them that, People tend to be aware, like, what are we, and that kind of a thing. So it's probably not the case that women are reporting incongruently their relationship status. So let's look at the next slide. What's a better explanation for this? Probably age gaps. Now this is marital age gaps from the CPS, the Current Population Survey from the US Census. And it gives you an idea of age gaps. But, women date men who are older. They marry men who are older, and this is marriage. Dating probably has larger age gaps, as people tend to marry more assortatively for age. And when I went through this, I said, okay, what percentage of people within this age range could be dating outside, right, of the 18 to 29 bin? A low estimate I come up with is about 12%. A high estimate I came up with was about 35%. So a lot of this gap here between singles doesn't seem to be explained by single women who are not living with their partner and who, might be in some kind of ambiguous status, like, I don't know what we are, or, I'm sharing a guy or something like that. They seem to be living with their partners. And that's the largest incongruent group, if you remember the first chart, was women who were living with their partner. So what's probably going on here? Women dating older men, simply, simple as. And again, I've mentioned this in the past videos, I think, but this is not something we see in other data sets, right? We don't see quite a large gap. In fact, Here's a trend from 2012 to 2021 from the General Social Survey, and we see it's remained pretty consistent, and even in recent years, not the largest gap that we have seen. In fact, the largest gap here was in 2012. We begin to see this kind of before the popularity of dating apps. So we don't really see an increase with time, a widening of this gap, and additionally, we don't see, a widening of this gap concurrent with dating app use. Anyway, that is it. Short video, but I wanted to share that with you since the Pew data was released and a lot of people have talked about this. Hopefully it gives you kind of a different perspective on that. Anyway, I took the chart from Nuance Enjoyer on Twitter. Again, follow him. He does a lot of good stuff. Like the video, subscribe to the channel, hit the bell. I will make another for you very soon.